everyone, it's Debbie. Welcome back to my channel. I am so sorry if I have taken this long to upload my Step 2 CK journey. I know it has been a while and I know you guys have been waiting for this, but I just want to apologize because I was busy and preoccupied with pre-employment requirements and moving, and I'm actually moving soon to New York. So thank you so much for your patience, and finally we have the Step 2 CK journey video, and if you want to know more, just keep on watching. So before I start giving my tips on how to increase your Step 2 CK, I just want to give a quick background first of what I did, of what my timeline was since Step 1. So I took my Step 1 test February 2019, and then I took my Step 2 CS because back then there was still clinical skills exam. So I took my Step 2 CS in Philadelphia in April 2019. From then on, I did a observership and preceptorship in Hawaii in a primary care clinic wherein I observed with internists and family medicine. I did that for 3 to 4 months, and then I did another preceptorship in neurology for a month. And then I went home here in the Philippines around second week of September, and that's where I started my Step 2 CK review. But initially, I really wanted to take my Step 2 CK around July or August. But then, according to the advice of the people I met during my preceptorship, some of them told me to postpone joining the match for that year and instead just learn as much as I could during my preceptorship and then have a dedicated study time for my Step 2 CK, because Step 2 CK basically was the only thing that could, flip my chances of getting matched. So I said, okay, then I will focus on this observership and learn as much as I could, familiarize myself with the US healthcare system, be updated with all the latest guidelines and medications. And to be honest, guys, that really helped me in my Step 2 CK. So you really have to have a good observership and preceptorship because that will really help you on your Step 2 CK studying. Moving forward, I got here around second week of September, and I started studying on the last week of September because I was still adjusting with the time zone. I'm still adjusting with my life again in the Philippines after being in the States and being in Hawaii for a few months. So my start date was late September, last week of September, and my prospective Step 2 CK test date was around March 2020. But then, the pandemic happened, the lockdown happened a week before my test. That was awesome. That was great. I was already ready, but you can't really control these things. So my test was moved to a later date. But we will talk about that later. I'm just telling you how I initially planned my Step 2 CK study schedule and test. For my resources and study materials, I only had two. The first one is the UWorld Step 2 CK question bank. You can use that app or download that app on your tablet and use it also on your desktop. Another resource material that I also had was the Master the Boards Usmle Step 2 CK by Conrad Fisher. This was just a supplemental reading. It's not like FA that you really have to devour and read everything. So basically, I just really studied the psychiatry part, ethics, patient safety, those things that I didn't have an intensive experience or training during my observership or preceptorship. So, but to be honest, you can forgo this one and just focus on your Step 2 CK UWorld question bank. And I was very grateful because UWorld app extended my subscription. So I paid for 6 months worth of UWorld app. So I basically had an extra 4 months free from UWorld because they were very considerate, given that the exams were canceled, rescheduled, and moved. So they were awesome on that part. And I believe that the Step 2 CK question bank is more than enough. Take time studying the way they ask and the way they give the choices, especially the review part. I believe that that part is very high yield. So for my Step 2 CK, I completely changed my study strategy and habit. So I really trained myself to become a morning person because I really considered the time and the length of time I will be taking my Step 2 CK. So the way I studied, I woke up around 6:30 almost every day and tried to, meditate or try to have a light yoga, and then start studying 8 a.m. onwards until 5 o'clock. That's when I will, answer a lot of blocks. I try my best to answer 2 to 3 blocks a day when I started. So I build up my endurance, and later on from 2 to 3 blocks a day, I was already answering 4 to 5 blocks to 5 to 6 blocks a day. So that was the goal. It's like Olympics, not only for your mind. You really have to train your body as well. 3 to 4 days in a week, I would answer blocks, and then I will have a dedicated time to study the review part. So this really helped me when I started writing down all the notes on the review part. I spent a lot of time writing down everything. I didn't miss a thing. I only started with this one, so I preferred the blank one, and I wrote down everything. All the diagrams, all the notes on the review part, I wrote them. Then I had another notebook until I had a third notebook, and then until I had a fourth notebook. So I filled these all out with notes, diagrams, and algorithms. That really helped me because I realized I'm that type of learner who, absorbs everything when they write them down. So I really learned who I was as a learner. In return, that really helped me remember. And if you will ask me up until now which part of the notebook is this topic, I can tell you where. Because I ate these notebooks, I ate them all. So let me go back to my storytelling because, the pandemic happened, right? February, I joined the medical mission in Ilocos with my colleagues in Hawaii, those that I've met in the primary care clinic. So it was almost 2 weeks long of medical and surgical mission in Ilocos, and I really went to that mission because I really want to boost my CV. So I made sure that I have a lot of volunteer works in between. I scheduled my test March 25th of 2020, and by December of 2019, I took my first sample test on UWorld, and I only got around 220. And I said, oh my gosh, this is step 1 all over again. I should, have a more dedicated studying. So that's what I did. I probably read this more than twice or thrice, all my notebooks, going to March. And then around 1st to 2nd week of March, I also took 2 tests on UWorld and on NBME. And around that time, I was already on the 80th percentile. So I was really confident, and I felt like I was really ready. And I said, you know what, Debbie, this is yours. You just have to go to the test and just own it. And then the lockdown happened. And I was really, to be honest, I was really optimistic that the lockdown will only happen for 2 weeks, and my exam will only be extended for another 2 weeks. But that didn't happen. So long story short, I lost my momentum. Imagine, having my test rescheduled and postponed more than 5 times until June 30th. Imagine, from March until June. And I really was angry because I knew I was ready then. But that was one of the challenges that I experienced, and I didn't know if I should keep on studying despite all the uncertainties. There were times when I just, I took a break and I said, maybe I really should stop doing this because this is pointless. I'm not even sure if I will be able to take that exam. But then there's this side of me that really pushed it. I had this mantra: I'm learning every day to let the space between where I am and where I want to be inspire me and not terrify me. So I said, you know what, I'll be pushing this and I'll make sure to take that exam right before the application season. I was able to schedule my test June 24th, but a lot of things happened again. On the day of the exam itself, I got there and the exam site was closed. It was closed and it didn't even tell me that my exam was cancelled. And I had no idea when I can reschedule my test. So it was a very frustrating time. So I called Prometric. I had a lot of long distance calls to their main office in Malaysia, and I called them a lot of times, and I was able to schedule it the earliest time possible, which was June 30th.
So I forgot to mention what I did from June 24th to June 30th. I took another mock test on NBME and I only got 241. That actually panicked me because that's not the score that I wanted. So my boyfriend told me to try Amboss, so I signed up for a free trial of Amboss for a week, and then I answered blocks, and then I reviewed my notes all over again.
And on June 30th, the night before, I wasn't able to sleep. Imagine, I wasn't able to sleep. I only had 2 hours of sleep, and I was just praying and praying and praying that all the days that I've spent working my ass off for this exam will pay off. I got there on the testing site already calm and relieved that, you know what, this is really for me now. Because I was already sitting on my chair, I was already holding the mouse, and I said, this is really it. This is finally pushing through. I believe in my first few blocks I had extra time, and I really made sure to make use of my breaks. So I ate a lot. I had my energy bars, I had my protein bars, I drank coffee, and then at the end of the day, I was confident. I knew there were questions that was really hard, but at the end of the day, I knew I was a winner. But every moment after that test, you will still have anxiety. I didn't even bother to check the day when will my exam score will come out. I received it 3 weeks after, out of nowhere, on my email around 8 p.m. And I was really freaking out. Didn't have that anxiety period. Like, truly that time was ignorance was bliss, because I really didn't know when my exam score will come out. But when it came out, I was freaking out, and I let my boyfriend check my email, and I was already hiding inside my mom's room because I was really scared. And then he said, "You got 250s." I was like, "What?" And then he said, "You got 252." And then I started crying. I was bawling. It was a For my last tip, set a realistic goal, but also envision yourself in your greatest potential. Before I started studying for my Step 2 CK, I wrote down on a piece of paper, I will get 250s on my Step 2 CK, and posted it on my laptop screen. And I would look at it every single day before studying. Bottom line is, our minds are powerful. If we think it and we believe it, and we do action towards that goal, you can honestly achieve anything. Whenever you set a goal and whenever you try to achieve something, pray that you will achieve something that will push you in achieving your greatest potential, and believe that you can. If, for example, I said, alam mo, okay na ako maka 240s lang eh. Or sinabi ko na, alam mo, pag naka 240 ako, masaya na ako. Then that's what I will achieve. That's what I believe in. But when you think, I will get 250s, and you believe that you can, all the actions and all the things that you will do will be driven by that purpose. I can be a living example for that. Now I'll be answering the questions that you sent me when I posted on my Instagram stories. regarding Step 2 CK related question. Okay, so the first question I will answer is there a best time to take Usmle Step 1 or Step 2? So my answer to that really depends on the year you are planning to join the match. So everyone has a different timeline. It all depends on what year you want to join the match. Also, inserting some US clinical experience, that also matters. So your goal really is to make sure you have accomplished everything right before the application season opens. Another question would be, may I ask what is the meaning of CK? So CK means clinical knowledge. Another good question would be, would our clinical training in the Philippines would be of great help in the preparation? Honestly, yes, at some points, but in my experience, it is really different because the way the questions are formulated here in the Philippines, also with our board exams, our physician board exams, it is really different. I will tell you that. The length of question would be in paragraph form that could comprise up to 20 sentences. The choices are not only A, B, C, D, E, it can reach up to A to J, A to M, A to L. That's how the type of questions are in the steps. I would say that yes, because some of your knowledge is from medical school, but the clinical training can sometimes also be of help, but it is a lot better, a lot more helpful if you have a US clinical experience. So another question was, how long was your dedicated period? My dedicated period would be around 2 months. Another good question, what helps more for big exams such as this? Textbooks or question banks? Based on my experience, question banks. Another good question, difference between PLE and USMLE. It is really different. Again, reiterate and repeat that the steps are nothing like any exam I have taken here in the Philippines. It's really, really different. Another question was, how do you remember what you've learned and stay focused while studying? I have told this earlier, but I wrote down everything on the review part of the QBank. I wrote down everything. I think I went through my notes more than 5 times. I ate those notebooks up. Another good question was test location for step 1, 2, and 3. So for my step 1, I took it in Makati, in the Prometric in Ateneo. And then my step 2 CK was also metric site in Ateneo in Makati. And then my step 2 CS, when it was still existent, I took it in Philadelphia. And my step 3, I'm just about to take my step 3 during my first year of residency. So unfortunately, other questions are not USMLE related. Most of you asked other things like, when am I moving to New York? Am I bringing Nati? Did I do a couples match? Maybe I can answer those questions some other time, but because this video is solely, dedicated for step 2 CK, I only answer those questions that are related to my step 2 CK. And before I end this, I just want to reiterate that our journeys are different. Our journeys are unique from each other. And I'm not telling my story to tell you that this is the right path. I'm just sharing what I went through, and I'm just sharing tips on how I was able to make it work and eventually be able to match at my dream hospital and my dream residency program. I'm actually thinking if I should also share my application season journey, my interview season journey. It has a lot of first times, and I have a lot of good stories to tell regarding that, and if that will also help you in your journey, I would be very happy to pay it forward and share it with you as well. That would be all. Thank you again. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye guys!